So
there you go. And then when that goes
live,
we are going to continue talking about mindset and things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's such a great introduction.
Profound it is. Welcome to the DNC Marketing live Q&A. Today, I think we're going to continue talking about mindset, which we talked about on Tuesday, self-sabotage, that new level, new devil stuff, and the real purpose of this particular masterclass, or this particular live Q&A, is supposed to go with the masterclass. So as people show up from the masterclass, and if you have not yet, the link to register for it is in the description for this video.
Boom, right above.
Make sure you attend the Building a Better Brand masterclass. You get a free 50-page workbook, and we give you homework, and we talk you through building a lot of things in your business, including systems to test, to understand who your target market is that you're speaking to, how to sell to them in the best way, and copy, and different things like that, and then working through it in the workbook. And then you can attend this live Q&A every week, and we can help you continue to work through that homework and answer any questions you have.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, I hope everyone had an excellent Halloween night. Lots of fun and debauchery must have been had. We are candy hungover and slightly not candy hungover. So, we had a good time, took our son out trick-or-treating. He dressed as the Scream character, which I'm not sure why he wanted to be the Scream character, but...
Not happy. Not a happy mom.
Why?
Barely talked him out of some bloodier, more gory things.
Oh, yeah.
He's way too young for that, but I think I was the same way at his age.
Probably.
Yeah. But tell us what your plans were for Halloween, what you did for Halloween. We would love to hear it. We had a pretty chill night with neighbors.
There you go.
And that's about it. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about mindset and other things.
Okay.
And I will pass the buck to you to start. Boom.
So I think something that for me has really developed since we have made the commitment to continue putting out a lot more content and help in a lot of different ways is keeping that commitment, right? Like we're all used to getting up and going to work because our boss tells us to. But now that you have your business, you are your boss. Right. So you have to have that accountability, and you have to force yourself to get up and continue with projects. Even if you're not quite sure if what you're doing is the right thing, you've got to be the one to have that accountability and say, like, no, this is the goal I'm working toward, and these are the steps I'm going to take, and regardless, I'm going to keep moving forward with that goal. So I think as a business owner, keeping yourself accountable, keeping yourself working toward that goal is very difficult when you don't have someone else telling you have to hit these marks, these are the tasks you have to accomplish each day.
Yeah, I mean, I get the same kind of I tell people the same sort of feedback whenever they say, oh, you work from home? That must be so nice. And I'm like, well, I mean, in some ways, of course, yeah, it is, right? Because we love helping, we love being able to provide value for y'all. And I love being able to hang out with my son more. When I was doing my own corporate gig, I was like pulling 14-hour days, 16-hour days all the time. I'd be flying in and out of different places, opening stores, closing stores, redoing inventory in different locations. I mean, like I was doing all sorts of different things. So there was a good, 2 years or so of his life in particular that I basically missed, right? Yeah. Because like from the moment he woke up to the moment he went to sleep, like I basically have like 10 minutes with him a day, right? And then like my only saving grace was if, excuse me, if I had days off where I wasn't called in, where I wasn't sent out someplace, that I was able to hang out with him. And that was about the gist of it, right? And there were times when it would be like months when I would just work every single day. So, I mean, there's some positives when it comes to being your own boss and working for yourself. And I think family time is very much a positive experience. There are also other, what was that noise?
I don't know. Facebook doing weird things.
There are also other experiences where, like Darren mentioned, we're just kind of, it's difficult to kind of get off the couch. You're used to just binge watching Netflix or YouTube or whatever, and you're just like, okay, I got to get shit done. Like I have to. Some people are just super driven, and that's great. And other people, excuse me, need to really pull themselves in, right? Mm-hmm. Some days are more successful at doing that than others. And that's something that I struggle with myself. I'm certainly not, I like to consider myself a go-getter. I like to say that I work hard, and I believe that to be true. But on the other hand, I do know that when I stop and I just allow myself to be comfortable, that's when things don't get done, and they don't get done at the time they need to get done. And things that should have taken, a day or two max are now they're into the third or fourth day. And then you add, of course, just general responsibilities to that. As a business owner, especially if you, again, work from home, you still have cooking, cleaning, laundry,
kids,
spending time with kids, trying to be a good parent.
the dog.
If you want to walk your dog, going to the gym, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, being with your spouse. So you're juggling a bunch of different things, right? And you have to understand and forgive yourself, like any juggler does. Eventually you're going to drop a ball. Eventually something's going to happen. It's going to fall. You are juggling 10 different things. Like, you just have to allow yourself to reset.
Yeah.
Pick up, stop, pick up the ball, take a breath, and go. But you have to pick it up and go. You cannot just leave it, because if you do, it becomes problematic for your relationships, or for your business, or for yourself.
Right.
So.
And I find this particularly difficult because when I do drop a ball, I feel like I have failed in that arena, right? So like Leo said, like relationships, family time, with Air Force work, and then the business and coaching clients and different things like that. If I drop one of those balls, I have failed someone. Right. So to me, I take it very hard and very personally. And I find it very difficult to now bounce back. And so that's why, if you have someone who you can talk to about business, if you're in business with your spouse, a friend, a business partner, if you're in a community or a group, I think it's so important to reach out and start talking about those things and say, like, hey guys, had a really rough day today, or I ran into this issue, I would really like some advice or some support in dealing with it. Because we anchor each other. We take turns dropping balls and helping the other person pick them back up, and spiraling and being like, okay, it's going to be okay, we're going to move on to the next thing now.
Yeah.
And without that, I don't know if we would be able to do this at all separately. Yeah. Because being in business is very difficult.
Yeah. There are it can change, like, literally, like, just a switch, right? And it's hilarious when you, after the fact, it's funny because, Darian might be like, oh my God, this sucks and this is terrible, whatever it may be, right? And I'm the worst, or blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, hey, we can do this. We just got to refocus, and, excuse me, an hour later, suddenly everything's fine, and she's cried out or whatever, and then, like, everything's good, and it's like, okay. And then she'll, like, look at me, and I'm like, so, this sucks, and then I start going into it, and she has to be like, no, everything's gonna be fine, like you just said. I'm like, I know what I said, but I was a liar. It sucks. This is terrible. This is totally, and then I do my little thing, and then she eventually calms me down, and then, I get done with my little hissy fit, and everything's good to go.
And I think a lot of it comes down to routine, for me anyway. Yeah. Is you're in a certain routine when you work like a 9 to 5. You go to work all day because you have to. You don't have a choice, right? You come home, got to take care of the kid, got to make dinner. You fall into that routine every single day.
Got to take care of the kid?
Well, we have one.
Your child.
Your child, yeah.
So can you be a little less clinical? Got to take care of the kid.
The angel, the baby.
Exactly.
Yes. And you fall into that routine every day, but then when you've got your own business, in addition to that routine, now you've got to find those different places, and you've got to remain accountable, and that's a new ball you're juggling. When you may have felt like you were at capacity, like you've got as many in the air as you can handle, now you decided to add one more. You've got to find those different things, and that takes a lot of self-motivation. It requires you to make sure you're getting that self-care in, because I know for me, those spirals tend to come when I have neglected, my time where I like to read, or, taking an extra long bath, doing yoga, doing things that are just for me, just simple little things that make me feel good, make me feel pretty. And when I don't get to do those things, it starts to add up and add up and add up, and then there's that explosion that comes.
Yeah. And you shouldn't allow yourself to have the idea of, like, I just don't have time, right? Not everybody, of course, there are certainly some people, but for the vast majority of us, it's just that we don't make time. We'd rather spend 20 minutes in front of the, on the couch, watching an additional show on YouTube or Netflix versus going out and actually going on a 20-minute run, or even a walk, right? Like you don't have to physically exert yourself to the point of exhaustion. I understand. I mean, for myself included, there are certainly some days where I'm just like, I do really well in the gym, and other days where I'm just like, I show up just to show up, and I hate every second of it, and I feel like, this was a crap gym session, blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, I end up at least getting something done, and maybe I'll go for a walk or something after the fact. But the point being that you can't allow yourself to just say, I don't have time, especially when it comes to self-care. You have to make time. And to kind of segue from there, don't be afraid to go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
I myself just recently have been going to see a therapist, and it's because I wanted to work on myself, right? And I wasn't sure how to do that. In regards to like dropping the ball, right? It's like I'm trying to continue to juggle, and then I'm dropping it. But that's what I was just mentioning, is like you can't allow yourself to not grab it again, right? Because if you do, then things start to deteriorate around you. Because that one ball, you start to think about that one ball. Then the second ball starts to drop.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shit, now things are falling apart. But you keep thinking about it. Now the third ball drops. But you're still trying to spin it. So instead of just like, all right, let me pause, pick it up, reset, try to move forward, now things are just kind of crumbling around you.
Right.
And it wasn't quite so dramatic as that for me, but a lot of people can feel that, whether it's business, relationships, being a parent. I mean, that's one thing that, at least for me, that I've recognized that I think everybody struggles with, is we all kind of feel like shitty parents, right? At least I hope so. Or maybe it is me.
We're not perfect parents, which means, if you're not perfect.
Yeah, you're always kind of
up.
thinking like, maybe I shouldn't have yelled at him for that, or maybe I shouldn't have punished him for that, or maybe I should have spent an extra, few minutes. I should have hugged him then. I should have said goodbye this way. I should have done this. I should have done that. And there's a lot of I should haves, right? But you have to allow yourself to forgive yourself, right? And you have to be able to move forward and say, if there's a problem that I want to fix, whether it's business or relationship, I have to fix it. I'm the only one that can fix it. No one's going to stop and fix this for me. It's literally one of those situations where you either buck up or you don't. And if you don't complain about it, because that's just, you're actively choosing to not even try. The other side, you can actually try. Whether you succeed or fail is inevitable. You're going to end up doing both. But some days are going to be more successful than others.
Right, and it never really feels that easy either. And you can see, like, if you're following the personalities thing, if you're coming from the masterclass, like, to me, that's a very lion attitude toward getting stuff done. Like, just do it. For me, like, if there's something going wrong, that very forthright, in your face attitude of like, let's just get it, that doesn't work for me as a golden retriever. Right? And I think I need a little bit more sugar, a few more hugs, someone pat me on the back and be like, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. Like, very different personality types there as well. So, like, that's just interesting to me how that works. But with the whole mental health aspect, I think as an entrepreneur, you cannot ignore that. You cannot think that that's not going to be one of the most important things that you develop throughout your entrepreneurial journey. Especially like in the Air Force, it's being less and less stigmatized because people are realizing how very important it is, because we have such a hard job in what we do on our side, that if we're not taking care of ourselves mentally, then things, like, it's not just, one person is going to crumble, which is a terrible thing. It's a group of people is now affected, which means like the whole mission is now affected, which means the whole Air Force could be, like, they're seeing the wider expanse of taking care of one person. Effect. Yeah. And being an entrepreneur, like, you kind of feel like you're inside of a bubble in your own business. And especially if you're a solopreneur. That's why these communities are so very important. People who understand, like, if you're having a hard day or if you need to talk to somebody, like, you should have someone here to reach out to, because, whether you feel like you're alone or not, we're all in this together and we're all going through these similar stages. And you can't think that you're alone, because we're all hitting against these same roadblocks at every level, new devil. People say that over and over again because it's true for everybody as they hit every single level. And the more you understand about your own mind and your own development and how you can handle things, and the more you develop that resiliency, the more those levels will come, the quicker those levels will come.
Exactly.
So from a mindset aspect, I think that's where self-sabotage comes from as well. is like you have that fear of success, that fear of rejection, that fear of failure, and you've not really looked in on yourself to realize that's what's happening. You haven't identified that I'm doing these things, I'm taking these actions, I'm watching a little bit too much Netflix because I feel like I need that, versus looking inward and saying like, okay, I know I've got this responsibility now, this new thing that I have decided I will take on myself, and I need to take that personal responsibility and watch half the amount of Netflix and keep moving toward my goal, even if that means I have to build a little bit more resilience, because again, it's counter to your routine. Before, you felt like you needed an hour of Netflix to unwind, to unplug, to feel better. Now you have to get used to having half as much or removing it from your routine because you've got this other thing, and now you've got to find other ways of self-care, other ways to unplug. And it is very difficult to change up the way you move your day around and the way you take care of yourself in different ways.
It's a lifestyle change. It's
yes, absolutely.
just like dieting, right? Like, just as Jerry mentioned, like at some point you have to, if you want to lose weight, if you want to get, abs or whatever your goal is, just be more healthy, be able to play with your grandkids or your kids, you have to be able to cut your portions, right? You have to start saying, okay, I normally eat X, Y, and Z, and now instead I'm going to have a salad for lunch with just some a vinaigrette, and then for dinner I'll have what I normally have, like just so that way it changes up my routine. I'm getting more greens, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So I think that's the same way even with your own mental health, your own self-care. You just have to see, and this is where I disagree, or not really disagree, but I don't understand Darian's point of view, because as you mentioned, different personality types, and sometimes it's just very difficult to understand, the other people. And I don't get, and maybe y'all can help me understand, right? Like if y'all have similar things, feel free to comment. But I don't understand. Like it's not that I don't get; it's that to me, the only thing that makes sense is at the end of the day, you either do it or you don't do it, and it's completely based on you. So I understand, I can empathize with the idea of like, I would like a pat on the back. I would like to think about why I'm feeling this way and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, there's only one answer. You either do it or you don't do it. And I understand that you don't like that answer. I understand that you don't want that to be the answer, but that is the answer, right? It's excuse me, it's just going back to the dieting thing. I understand that you don't want to cut calories. I understand that you don't want to cut carbs. I understand that you still want to have your devil cake. I understand all that. I empathize with it because I too want that. However, at the end of the day, if your goal is to get a six-pack or whatever the case is, hey Alfonso, if that's your goal, then you have to put down the cake. Right, like that's to use a weird analogy, I suppose. That's the general thing I'm talking about when it comes to mindset. Like at the end of the day, regardless of whether you think it's fair, unfair, I have other things going on. I feel like I deserve to have this cake because I have had a hard day, whatever. At the end of the day, you have to make the conscious decision to either eat the cake or don't eat the cake. So, anyways, that's my.
I think that definitely shows like the personality type. That's very like Gary Vee, right?
See,
He's very lion, and so he's very much just like he puts a lot of the motivational stuff out there. But at the end of the day, his message is the same. You either do it or you don't do it. And I think for me, it's more of a reframing of that. It's okay, how can we do this? Like sit down with me and brainstorm. I know I have to do it, but you just saying like just do it is not going to help me. I need to know how. So sit down, let's think about, we can take these steps, or maybe if it's the cake that's the problem, let's rearrange those calories in the day so that I can maybe make a transition toward eating fewer calories, And if it's a self-care issue or a Netflix binging issue and I need to make the time to work on my business, let's rearrange that time in a way or cut it down little by little and do something that makes it easier to just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as Alfonso was saying, good afternoon, morning for us. Compound Effect by Darren Hardy and Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. do or don't, there's a slight edge in every decision made.
Oh, that sounds like an interesting
And then it's easy to do. It's also easy not to. And I totally agree. I think there's a saying when you practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that's like you're going to pay for it regardless. So what they're talking about is working from what they call guard. In other words, from working off your back, the other person on top of you, and you're trying to scramble, like get up or switch positions. Their point is that you either need to expend the cardio, you need to get out, or you're going to get hit, right? Like as an example, using mixed martial arts, UFC, that sort of thing, right? You either get up, or at least try your damnedest, try your hardest to stand up, or you can rest, and you're still going to get punched in the face. Mm-hmm. It's just like what Alfonso was saying, and I really feel like that's just what I'm saying, is that there is you can think all you want. At the end of the day, action is required, because regardless, you're paying for it. Mm-hmm. You can either pay for it today, right now, this moment, or you can pay for it tomorrow. Whether it's dieting, whether it's self-care, whatever the case is, if you don't do it, inevitably payment is due, right? It's that thing. It's sort of like that thing where it says like, what was it? Like success isn't guaranteed, or success isn't given. You must pay it rent, and rent is due every day.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Something like that.
And I think that's very relevant because, like for me, there was the pool to pool to create a business, right? There was a lack of fulfillment in this area of my life where I wanted to create, I wanted to help people, I wanted to get out there in a different way. Mm-hmm. So, being punched in the face every day is kind of the equivalent of like
not literally.
Not literally.
Yeah.
I'm lacking that fulfillment in my life. I'm facing this problem that I'm having internally every single day of my life. So when I decided to start that first business, it was I'm giving up sleep. I am sacrificing a little bit of family time. I'm hitting this enormous learning curve because I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and I'm trying to learn as fast as I can so I can get this business off the ground as fast as I can. We're sacrificing a little bit of money to start into it. All of those things are me expending the cardio in order to achieve that dream. Yeah. And I think with great metaphor with the UFC and everything, in the beginning, you're doing both, right? Mm-hmm. You're expending the cardio and you're getting punched in the face.
Right.
Because you're learning at this point. It is the beginning, and you have to understand that. And I think, especially for us, I know for us, and I know for a lot of people we've talked to, you expect very quick results, right? Mm-hmm. You make the decision, okay, now, today is the day. This is when I'm going to put the money in to my ads, and I damn well better see results, or it wasn't worth it. When the reality is, like, no, right now you're expending cardio, and you're about to get punched in the face because you're just getting started. And being patient and learning and making sure you figure out where you need to duck and dive and when you can punch back, when, watching yourself, gain that cardio, gain that experience and that understanding, and then starting to put it and implement all those new things you're learning. That's the beginning. And that's where patience is required. Yeah. And that's where you just need to pay attention and be like, this part's hard, right? This is a hard point in the journey of entrepreneurship in my life, but this will pass.
Right.
Because this is only one stage. The next stage, some things will get easier, some things will get harder because I've reached a new level. Yeah. And on and on and on. But you have to realize that that's the point of the journey.
Well, I think something that's also important to talk about is perspective, right? Because as Darren was talking about it, what I thought of, she was talking about the beginning of the business, not DNC Marketing, not even DNC Copywriting. When we were the very first business we ran, which is Wild Texas Soaps and Candles. And she was trying to learn how to do all that. She was trying to learn manufacturing, how to build, how to get things shipped, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, how to work on Shopify, how to code, how to do this, how to do that. Mm-hmm. So she's doing all these things. And as she mentioned, she just listed off so many things she had to sacrifice to some extent, sleep to some extent. She had to do the same thing when she wanted to do her half marathon, right? It's like sleep, family time, et cetera, right?
Any goal at all.
Now, because we want to help and we want to be completely honest, having said that, a few days ago we were talking and she said the exact same things as problems, as terms of like, I don't like this aspect of our business because I'm losing sleep, I'm not spending family time, So when she was saying that, I'm like, it's actually the exact same problem that we had in the very beginning. The only difference is it's a different perspective, because now, for whatever reason, we feel like because we've had X level of success, because we've made X amount of dollars, we deserve to have less stress. We deserve to have people, just telling us they love us all the time, or we deserve. And that's the problem, right? We're not coming from, when you think that way, you're not coming from a place of gratitude. You're coming from a place of
entitlement.
Of entitlement, exactly. You're feeling entitled to success, to love, affection, and to some extent, we all want that, right? Whether it's us, any of our members, like that's why we always say, like, leave comments so we can shout out. Like if you have a success in your business, if you're, hey, I closed this client or whatever, like do a comment so we can praise you, and not because we want to make you feel like like you're like a child or something, but we want to be there when you succeed, and when you falter, we also want to be there, because you know what I mean, at the end of the day, we need you to be there for us as well. We're not always going to have the right answer. We're going to try our best to. We're not always going to say the right thing. For example, this is live. I may say something stupid, but we want to build a community and help each other in order to succeed and fulfill our goals, which is not monetary. Of course, there's some monetary goal in there, but the biggest goal is to provide value and help to people who are establishing their business.
Right, and because we know how hard it is, and we've been there. And like Julio said, like even now, kind of needed a reality check. I kind of needed to be reminded that, like, this is hard, because that's what we chose. There are certain aspects that we now need to accept as part of our life, and if we decide not to accept them, that's fine. That's for each person to make on an individual basis, but just know that another sacrifice comes with that, right? We can be live 24 hours a day, but what are we sacrificing in that? Everything else. Right? We might be getting all the fans, all the clicks, all the follows, but everything else is going, all the other balls are going to fall at that point. So,
as my dad used to say, I don't know why, it just reminded me of that when he used to say, tell me, I wish I was born rich instead of so damn good looking. Right? It's if we were rich, maybe life would be a lot easier. We can pay anybody we want to pay. We can have multiple assistants, and but we don't have that ability quite yet. Maybe one day.
But that shouldn't stop anything.
No, it still doesn't. We're still here. We're still working.
And
moving.
Especially with some of the members that we've coached through, who, like one in particular, she is doing this completely on her own without support, and it took her years, even with us, years before she met us, years with us, to find the right path that she wanted to take as an entrepreneur. And she's making some incredible strides, but it took her longer than she expected. So much patience, so much persistence and resilience, and we are so incredibly proud of her, and like just in awe of how she has just stuck with her dream without faltering. And she's reached out to us, and we've had lengthy conversations, like helping her work through these mindset issues, help just being there to listen when she has had such a very hard time. And now she is on her way to creating her own community in her local area of people, and she just feels so passionate about what she does, and she's making huge strides, and it takes that level sometimes. And I think we hear those stories about people who hit a rock bottom point before they made success in their business, or like Julio and I were talking about, like comedians, for example. You always hear about a comedian's origin story and how they spent 10 years, putting on shows in empty bars. Or getting heckled, in the subway to nobody. And it takes sometimes, hopefully not that long, but sometimes it can take a little bit for things to start to work out. And if this is what you want, like you've got to realize that, like Julio said, perspective is everything. You have to celebrate every single win, because sometimes they come far and few between. Sometimes they're small before you hit those really big ones. And you have to realize that if this is still what I want, then I can still continue to work at it and chip away at it. Even if I've got limited time, limited funds, I can have my breakdown, and then I can pull myself back up, and I can keep moving forward to achieve that dream. Like you can't just stop, because what happens when you just stop? For me, as hard as some of these things are, like, I can't imagine just stopping, because that to me would be the worst thing.
Yeah.
We can hit failure after failure after failure. We can come against as many obstacles as there are, but that is still preferable to me than just quitting. I can't imagine. This has become a part of who I am as a person now.
Right. An exercise I kind of came up with, or at least I think I came up with. So, for those of you, such as sometimes myself, who maybe have negative thoughts, you have self-doubt, whatever the case is. I was thinking about this the other day when I was driving. I was in my truck, and I don't remember what podcast I was listening to, but I think it was a comedian funny thing. I don't remember, but the point being that they were talking about talking to their kid and how they want to, they don't know they find it difficult to understand when they should be hard on them, when they shouldn't, but go so forth. And I started thinking about that, and I was like, from a self-worth perspective, and I've been trying to do this, and I think it's something that's been beneficial to me, so I would challenge you to do it as well. As I would talk to my 6-year-old or my 5-year-old or 4-year-old, whatever, like, when I want him to succeed at something, right, I celebrate every small win, every small victory, right? And the same thing whenever they're kids, right? I mean, if you look at when you had you're around a 1-year-old or whatever, they could be babbling, and then they'll be like, they may say like, thank you, or something like that, and you're like, oh wow, that's so awesome, yeah, thank you, oh, it's so good, and da-da-da, like you're talking to them, and everything they do, you're like, hey, oh my gosh, and just like when your child would go, and pee in the potty the first time, and you're celebrating it, and you're doing it every time for like a month, you're like, yes, oh my god, that's so awesome, thank you, blah, blah, blah. And I was thinking, like, you do that to establish self-esteem, a self-worth, to let them know that they are contributing to your happiness. So my thought is that maybe we could do that to ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. It seems a little silly at first to think about it. I'm not suggesting necessarily that you just start throwing your hands up and screaming like in the middle of a subway or something, but
unless that works for you, then
hey, whatever, yeah. But my suggestion, it would be to whatever it is, every small win, and I don't mean just like, well, if I make a client call this week, that's a success. I just mean like even small stuff, right? Because when you start to have that self-doubt, it starts to manifest in other avenues, right? You start to, because I have a rough day in business, maybe I start to feel like, as an example, I yell at Darian about something. Well, then I yell at Dominic about something, and I'm just like, ugh. So now I feel like a terrible husband, a terrible father, a failure in business, and you just start hitting all these things about how you suck at this and you suck at that, and, so instead, even small things, right? Again, if I'm talking to my son, I'm like, if he's learning how to cook, he's making a grilled cheese sandwich, I'd be like, oh man, that's so awesome. Wow, you did such a good job. And in my mind, I'm like, that'd be kind of an interesting way to do that. And again, I'm trying to do that is when I make my sandwich, when I do something, I'm just like, mentally, I'm like, hey, good job doing that. And it's just like, this is a pretty good sandwich. Instead of being like, oh, here's just another sandwich, like, man, this PB&J is killer. I'm like, probably, I might be the best person at making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. It's a thing.
Well, and it might sound a little bit silly. And if you're like a primarily super positive person and you don't run into any kind of like, mental gymnastics, then yeah, it might just not be something that you need to do. But for the majority of us, like, learning to establish that habit is what's important.
Right.
And I think that's what you're trying to get at.
Yeah.
Even those little things that you're just like, it's just a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But no, like, that's a damn good peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I made that. That's establishing a habit. And every little thing that you do in that day, and it starts to stack up, and you won't notice it at first, but over time, as you continue to develop that, your brain is continuing to develop that habit.
Yeah.
And it's just like those gratitude journals, right? You hear lots of coaches and lots of courses saying, like, make sure you have your gratitude journal, make sure you're doing your daily gratitude meditations. Gratitude is the point there, because you're praising yourself and you're reminding yourself what you can be thankful for, all those little blessings in your life. And that develops a certain thought pattern that helps you remain positive. Because as an entrepreneur, we're in business, we're experimenting, we are scientists in the market, and you are going to fail a lot because that's just the reality.
Right.
Because everything is an experiment with marketing, with business. But developing that resilience and that positive outlook and that like tough skin on it is going to what makes the difference over time so that you are successful.
Yep. And Alfonso just happened to mention there's another book called Who Motivates the Motivator. So I was telling him that I think that would be something I would want to look up as well. And that basically it was saying that money shouldn't be a motivator. There's that one thing that should wake you up daily. And and my worst day in business is still better than my best day at a dead-end job.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I think that is really important. When you wake up and you no longer feel motivated or passionate to do something in your business, you don't have to love every aspect of your business. There are certainly things that I'm just like, I got to get this done because taxes, right? But I wake up like days like today where we had a little too much fun yesterday. Waking up today was a little bit hard.
Yeah.
But we're here.
Right.
Because it's that important to us to make sure that we're delivering value, that we are helping on multiple levels. This mindset thing is so incredibly important to both of us.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the effects on our clients. I have seen the effects on people in our groups, both free and paid. I've seen the effects on the people I supervise in the Air Force, that when you neglect that, or when people just aren't noticing that something is wrong, over time, like you're on a downward hill and you slide faster and faster and faster until you hit rock bottom.
Right.
And if nobody can see those signs, if you're not reaching out and talking to people about that's what's happening, it's just so many bad things can happen, and I've seen them firsthand. And we wanted to reach people on such a huge level to make sure that we're doing our part because we felt those things.
Yeah.
And we don't want anybody else to feel those things or to ever feel like they're alone and they can't reach out to anybody else.
Right. Well, it's a little over about 36, 37 minutes. I feel like we should wrap this up and let everybody kind of get back to their day.
Okay.
Unless you have more to say.
No, I think I feel better now.
There you go. All right. Well, we really appreciate y'all watching and commenting and engaging. And we know that you don't have to do that. We really appreciate that you do. If there's anything we can do for you, whether it's actual advice as far as business goes or just someone to listen to, feel free to holler at us.
Yep.
More than happy to chat. And as Darian mentioned in the beginning, if you want to check out the Building a Better Brand Masterclass, feel free to do so. The link is in the description. And feel free to follow us on any of your social sites. We're on everything. Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest. Just look up DNC Marketing, and we're there.
Yep.
So.
And for Tuesdays, we focus in on topics. So if you've got something you're struggling with, if you've got something you want to learn more about, let us know. We get emails and comments and things of people telling us this is what they're interested in. So if you want us to focus on something, that's what we want to do. And then Fridays are for the Q&A. So bring all the questions you have, all the thoughts you have. Let's have a casual conversation and open it up.
Yep. And speaking of which, I think we're debating. I want if you would like to have some input. We're debating on how we should set up the Q&As, just because I'd rather have these longer discussions and talks on Tuesday and then have a Q&A as like a general, instead of going live on Fridays. What I was thinking about doing was basically having it like open, right? From like 9 to 10 or 9 to 11 or whatever a.m. Hawaii time, so whatever that may be y'all's time. Just having it open, and that way like you can talk to us and we can answer comments, questions, suggestions in real time and be able to answer you like via live, right? So as an example, let's say it's 9:30, we're here on the computer, we're not live, but we are here. It is accessible to us, and you shoot, hey, I was wondering, what do you think about these brand colors? And we can just go pop up real quick, like, hey, so we're checking out so-and-so's website. So the brand colors look really awesome. We think you should go with this though for, a little bit more purple or whatever the case, whatever it is. What do y'all think? and then we pop in that video. You get to see it. You get to see other people's engagements into it. But it's more chunked, but it's specific to you as opposed to us rambling for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever, and then trying to catch up on comments throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah, and so like we basically want to do an office hours session.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, and anytime you drop your question and we go live and we answer your question live, and it, like Julio said, specific to you, and we think that will be more beneficial so that we can help people on a more individual basis. But we want to know your opinion. Would you rather we stick with what we're doing and have the live this way so you can pop in and see us and talk to us when you feel like it, or would you rather be able to drop a question and have a personalized live on the Facebook page or in the Facebook group?
There you go. Okay, that's all she wrote. I appreciate y'all. Have a good Friday, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Yep, we'll see you Tuesday.
All right, bye. Have a good one.